Hey guys, welcome to another exciting episode of Cooking Without Kidneys, here to help people who are on dialysis not just survive but thrive through food. I'm your host David Pollock, and today we're going to be making a little bit of Korean. We're going to do some Korean barbecue ribs, short ribs. These are beef based, okay? We're using a little bit of gochujang. We have a little bit of fish sauce that we're using, which is essentially, is fermented fish. As weird as it sounds, it's delicious. It actually brings out the flavor of everything. We have a lot of heat in this, and we're using a little brown sugar to balance it out. We're going to have some kimchi to go with that also, okay? And the kimchi itself is going to be cabbage, some shredded carrots, a little bit of scallions and jalapeno, a little bit of ginger garlic, and of course, a little fish sauce, gochujang, and a little sriracha we're going to throw in there also. And of course, we have our black rice, okay? Now we're going to start off with our black rice. We're going to take it over and needs to be rinsed a couple of times, okay, just for a couple of things, just so that way we can get a little bit of that color out, takes out a little bit of that starch, and has it cook up nice and rich. Now you can do this in a bowl, you can do this in a strainer. Nice cool water. And what you'll see, it takes off a lot of that dust, takes off the excess starch. The other way to do this is you could actually rinse this overnight and you have the same effect. Now this is a 3-to-1 ratio, so I'm dealing with half a cup, we're using 1.5 cups of water. And of course, just a splash of liquid aminos, and that's it. We're going to add a little rice vinegar and sugar to it at the very end. Since everything else is so hot, we want something that's going to balance it all out. This is going on the stovetop. We're going to do that over medium heat. All right, so while our rice is behind us cooking, we're going to get into our short ribs. Okay, now these are going to take a couple hours to actually cook. So we want our rice to be cooked through. We're going to set it with a little bit of sugar, a little bit of vinegar, and we're going to set it off to the back, and it's actually going to become more of a sticky rice. It'll be really nice with this heat. So, I'm going to take our gochujang. And gochujang is just a Korean hot pepper paste. Okay? Really delicious, really spicy. If you'd like to try it by itself, you're more than welcome to. I've done it. My taste buds came back a couple days later. A little fresh ginger in there. Brown sugar just to give it a little balance. This is actually a little black rice vinegar. We're just going to use that to help thin this out. Now, like I said, this is a Korean barbecue. Every culture has their own versions of it. Everybody makes it a little bit different. This is fish sauce. Fish sauce is very, very, very pungent. If you spill it, it takes a while to get that scent out, but I'll tell you, it really adds flavor to everything you cook. And we're just going to do a little bit just like this. Okay, and this is a little ginger oil that we're going to add to it too, just to bring the flavors out a bit. Okay, so we have all of our flavors in here mixed up. The sugar really kind of balances out that heat from the gochujang, from the Korean paste. You could taste the ginger in there already, and the rice wine vinegar balances everything out. We're going to take our short ribs. I'm going to marinate them for about 20 minutes, half an hour. So while we're marinating our beef, we're actually going to get rolling in on our kimchi. I have a little garlic, a little ginger, and a little pepper flake that we're going to use. A little bit of gochujang. And yes, we're using it in a little bit in everything, but each component is going to have a different flavor, a different taste. I'm going to add just a touch of white sugar to this. And of course, we're using Bragg's liquid amino. We're going to do about a 1/4 cup's worth. Now we're going to add our cabbage, our scallions, our carrots, and we're just going to put a touch of fish sauce in it, and we're going to let this marinate while we start to cook our beef. And of course, scallions. We want to make sure this is nice and well coated all the way around. That little bit of salt that's in the Bragg's liquid amino is actually going to break down the cabbage. So the longer it sits, the better off it's going to be. Waiting for the beef to cook is just the right amount of time to just serve it that day. It's better the longer you let it sit. Cool. And we're going to set this aside and we're going to go over and start to sear our beef. Okay, so now we have our beef over here and it's been marinating. I want to get a nice sear on that. I did not add any oil to the pan. Naturally, this short rib has plenty of fat to it on its own. You could just smell the heat coming off of it, the chilies, the ginger. And you guys can see, this caramelizes really quick, gets really dark very fast. That's the sugar in there. And that sugar is actually going to keep everything well balanced so the heat doesn't take everything over. Okay, now that we have this browned all the way around, got a little bit of color to it all the way around, because it only sat for half an hour, I cook it with the barbecue sauce in there. Okay, so we're going to pour it right over top. We're going to add some little water to it just so that way it doesn't burn. I'm going to take this whole thing, put it into a 300-degree oven, and check on it in 2 hours. All right, guys, let's check our rice. That should be just about done. Oh yeah. So black rice tends to come out, even after it's been washed, very similar to a wild rice. Now, because we have so much heat in this dish, we're actually going to sweeten up our rice. We're actually going to use just a little bit of sugar, a little bit of rice wine vinegar. So yeah, like I said, a little rice wine vinegar goes a long way. We're just mixing that, rice wine vinegar, sugar. Going to let this sit to the side while we wait for our ribs. Okay, let's check our ribs. Oh, look at that. So we've turned these a couple of times while they were in the oven. Okay, the sugar caramelized to them, so you got this nice dark color, nice, deep, and rich. Our kimchi's gorgeous, been sitting there for a couple of hours. I'm just going to set this aside for the moment. And now we're going to plate. So we got our black rice, barbecue short ribs. Yeah, look at that. They're nice and soft and tender, cooked all the way through. I'm going to top it with a little bit of kimchi. And of course, we're not going to let all this beautiful sauce go to waste. There you guys go. Korean barbecue ribs, kimchi, black rice. Enjoy. Okay, now we're going to get into our dessert for today, and we're going to candy some apples with some ginger, a little bit of sugar, and we're going to put that over top of vanilla ice cream. Now, we're not making the vanilla ice cream ourselves, we're just using something that we bought from the store. The fact of the matter is that you don't always have the energy to do everything when you're on dialysis, so there are certain things that we're just going to take a moment, you know, just to not do. Okay, now we're just going to start with the butter, about a tablespoon's worth. Let that melt down. And then we're going to add our ginger next. Now, ginger, a little goes a long way. You definitely want to get that flavor into everything. We just want to let that start to cook. Now we're just going to add our sugar. It's almost going to make like a caramel. When we add the apples are going to add the water to thin it out. As you can see, the sugar's already melting. We can add our apples right to that. And we're just going to let that cook till soft. All right. Once this is done, we're going to take it over here and we're going to plate up our ice cream. Oh yeah. And here you go. You know, not a ton of sugar in it, just enough to glaze the apples. We have our ginger in there too, and that's nice and fragrant and throughout the entire dish. We're just putting this right over top of our vanilla ice cream. Nice, simple ginger dessert after a really nice and spicy meal. Enjoy. Hey guys, thanks for joining us today on Cooking Without Kidneys. I hope you guys enjoyed our Korean style barbecue ribs, as well as our kimchi and our candied ginger apples. Join us next time when we're going to go take a look at what Morocco has to offer. Have a great night, everybody.